GT 2.0 after all, let's talk about it. Now we are going to get into the review, but just off the top of this episode, I want to leave you with my first impressions. Boy, was that epic. Now, I was getting some OG Dragon Ball vibes, but as the episode went on, I started getting more of those GT 2.0 vibes, and I thought to myself, is this more GT or is this more OG? Again, we've heard rumors that Toriyama is going to be adapting some GT content into this anime, and it's basically going to be his own version of GT, but it's not going to be a duplicate of GT. There are going to be similarities, there's going to be differences. And as I was watching this episode, I was like, yeah, sure, they're in a spaceship, they're flying to another realm, they're collecting these Dragon Balls that are in another space, and then I was like, hold up, wait a minute, something's happening here. Is this actually GT 2.0? So, here's my idea. It's not necessarily GT 2.0 because I can't remember who said it, but it was a very great quote. They said, it's not necessarily GT 2.0, it's just where GT was also inspired by Dragon Ball, especially in the early arcs, where they were focusing on Dragon Ball collecting and wanting to get back to that classic adventure feel. And this is also getting back to that classic adventure feel. But to me, the next step up from the OG Dragon Ball adventure of traveling the world, you're going to want to travel the universe, or in this case, the cosmological multiverse. So you're going outside of the 7 universes, well, 12 universes. You're going into the demon realm. So honestly, I really like it. You could say it's GT 2.0. To an extent, sure. It's also just OG remake or rehash, but honestly, it's also kind of like the perfect marriage of everything. This is Dragon Ball, and if somebody says OG Dragon Ball and they're trying to use this as an insult to the series, saying they wanted more DBZ, remind them that DBZ is OG. It released as one manga, so let's keep that in mind. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue. This guy is named Warp. I did not know that. Now, there was a Geekdom leak, and he confirmed his name is Warp. So, again, more credibility to Geekdom 101. But yeah, Warp looks pretty interesting, and he's got a little bit of an attitude. I think he's entertaining and funny. And Goku was, of course, doing his Goku thing, where he was like, oh, you look like a big goldfish, and Warp was not having it. And this is an interesting thing. In case you've missed it, there's been a popular theory that the Saiyans are basically demons because they have pointy ears in the Great Ape Uzaru form. So the theory goes that they evolve over time to become more human-like once they leave the demon realm. So I thought this was a funny little reference. Obviously, this is just Supreme Kai working some magic to make his ears pointed, but it's also pretty funny. Also, it kind of confirms Supreme Kai is using some more magic. I think he may have used magic before, but yeah, just interesting that he's doing that there. Now, he forgets to tell Kibito the pin number because we actually learned that they need pin numbers to go in between the universes. So, in prior episodes, we confirmed that they need permission. Now they also need pin numbers and they have to complete applications. So that's interesting, and I think this is going to explain why Vegeta and Bulma maybe take so long to get to the Demon Realm. They're going to need to figure out what these pin numbers are. Then we also have Glorio being a little bit sus. Now, Glorio states that he's from the 3rd Demon Realm, but he does work in the 1st Demon Realm. And apparently only people from the 1st Demon Realm and some people from the 2nd Demon Realm can use Warp. And this ties into later events in the episode, which we will get to. But yeah, I think they're really trying to establish Glorio as a mysterious figure with a lot of things behind this scene. Another thing here that I found very fun is that Supreme Kai is kind of feeling bad that he didn't get to tell Kibito the pin code. And then Goku says, well, I'm sure it'll work out. And look at that little Kid Goku smile. Now, of course, this is Goku Mini. This isn't Kid Goku because, of course, even though he has the body of the child, he has the mind of adult Goku. But I just thought it was very cute, I guess you could say, like charming, fun, like just very endearing. That's the word I'm looking for. Endearing of Goku to just have that little smile on his face and being optimistic. So that's good for Goku. Now this is interesting. This is where I think Arinsu was probably playing out all these plans ever since she was a child. So Supreme Kai states that there was originally like a tunnel with each demon realm or demon world being connected to the tunnel. So you could traverse to each demon realm through this tunnel. But by the time he was a younger fella, somebody closed it up with some sort of magic. So I'm thinking it's got to be Dr. Arinsu, right? Like, that would have been, like, if he was, like, a younger guy or a boy even, and Dr. Arinsu is his sister, little sister, she should have been alive long enough for her to do something like this. And we know Akira Toriyama is not above writing prodigies as children. If you've read Jocko the Galactic Patrolman, Bulma is in that series, and she's already making laser guns and repairing alien spaceships, and she's like 5. So I do think that this is something Toriyama could have been playing around with, and I think basically they're establishing that Arinsu was laying out these plans for a very, very, very long time. And then here we have a statue of Dabra. I guess this is probably a teaser that we'll be saying more of Dabra. I think it's really cool. I mean, I guess they could revive Dabra or maybe his dad or something like that. I kind of hope we get more Dabra backstory. Honestly, as a kid, I just took him as some minion of Babdi's and he died, but learning more about him in this series really has me interested in what kind of person he was behind the scenes. I mean, if he's funding Dr. Arinsu's research and they've got this statue made of him. Now, just because they have a statue made of him, that doesn't mean that they loved him or anything like that. He could have just had it commissioned just as a sign of vanity. But, you know, the little thumbs up is funny. It's like kind of Mr. Satan-ish. Which I guess they're probably making a pun because I just realized Mr. Satan, of course, is named after Satan himself. And Dabra is the king of the demon realm, a former supreme demon king of the demon realm. So that's interesting. So another thing I found fun is that the air in the third demon world is thick and stuffy and it makes it hard to move. So obviously they're trying to apply there's some sort of gravity room type of training that Goku is going to endure where his body is going to adjust to this stuffy air that makes it hard to move. And he's basically going to become more powerful as a kid and basically get some training in. So I do think it's fun that over time he's just learning to adjust to his body, but they're putting more constraints onto what his body can sustain. And then we got a big lore drop for Supreme Kai. So the lore previously was that Supreme Kai are Shinjin, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Glorio clarifies that he's a Glend. I guess that's Glend. Some people are speculating this could be a pun on Glinda from Wicked Witch, not Wicked Witch of the West, Wizard of Oz. So they're saying that this could be a pun on Glinda, the Good Witch. I can't remember what, area or whatever she was, but yeah, I remember she was like a more Good Witch type character. And I guess that makes sense. So they say that he's from the second demon realm, and there's very few of them. So that's interesting. So I guess the whole tree thing, maybe that's still canon. Maybe the tree is in the second demon realm. And if you are born as a Supreme Kai like Supreme Kai is, then you get to go and leave. And maybe that's why Supreme Kai took the spaceship and left. So that's interesting there. So we actually got the name of the king of the third demon realm, Kaden, or Kadan, I guess, maybe. And Glorio says that's the person he's working for. So just a little bit of a name reveal there that I wanted to mention. Now, Glorio really blew me away this episode. I wasn't expecting to enjoy his character as much as I did. He's very stoic, but very cool. He kind of like does a little, does he swindle this guy? I don't know. Like, he kind of like intimidates him because this guy's trying to swindle Glorio. That's the better way of putting it, by overcharging on the rooms. Glorio basically says, I'm not having any of that. Threatens him with his laser gun. And so this guy's like, all right, 5,000. And so Glorio's like, that'll do. So he kind of has like an intimidating aura about him. I'm not sure if Supreme Kai, well, obviously, I think Supreme Kai is like maybe suspicious of Glorio. Goku, of course, has no clue, I don't think. And then another thing I wanted to mention, Glorio's got hands. Honestly, I was not expecting this. I thought he would mainly be using his gun throughout the show, because they've been showing him with his gun a lot in like the openings and the endings and things like that, and in the trailers. So I'm thinking, okay, Glorio just must be a gun user, he must be like the sniper of the group. But obviously, as you can see here, he's got fisticuffs going for him. Now these are like Demon Realm level characters, but it's still interesting that he's using his fists to fight. And then Goku, of course, easily dispatches all these Demon Realm characters. I think this is basically to tell the audience he's not as depowered as some people were thinking. I was thinking maybe they're resetting him to level 1 again, and maybe these characters are on par with like the dinosaur people from the OG Dragon Ball series, and Goku's like basically starting over and having to strengthen himself up again, fighting these lower tier characters. But no, he does a good job. Now, one thing I was disappointed in is he didn't use this power pull in this fight, and if he did and I missed it, then he didn't use it enough, especially when that one guy used the axe. So we're going to see the power pull again, so I'm not like too bummed about him not using it much in this fight. But yeah, this was your big fisticuffs action fight for Dragon Ball. And then of course the end of the episode, they get the ship taken. So I really like the pacing of the show, and I like how the plot is being laid out. It's not like Dragon Ball where they like do a little bit of filler. I mean, I'm speaking about Dragon Ball Super specifically, where they like do a little bit of filler, they do some plot setup, but like the arcs weren't that investing, you know what I'm saying? Like again, I don't want to turn this into like a let's hate on Dragon Ball Super series, because I do like Dragon Ball Super. But this series just feels more like a movie, if that makes sense, where you're actually like having arcs and moments, and it feels like every episode is building on the next, and it's more focused on plot and lore and comedy. And this episode had plenty of comedy, like Goku making like a fart joke because he says that the air being stuffy is also a sign. Well, it's stuffy, but it also stinks. And so Goku just goes ahead and farts in the ship and hopes that he can get away with it. And then Glorio's like, the air is getting stinkier. And then Goku's like, ooh, sorry, that was me. You know, so it's got like some comedy here, and I really liked it. Now, I do think there's probably going to be like a backlash to this episode, and some people in particular wanting more DBZ action. I've definitely had some of that in my comments, but honestly, I don't care. I'm really enjoying the series. It's pretty good. I really enjoyed it, and the animation is just glorious. It's beautiful. Every week I'm going to mention that. The animation is really, really good. Anyways, guys, that'll be it for this review of Dragon Ball Daima Episode 3. I almost said 2. We're already on Episode 3. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace off.